So first of all, for people wondering why and what we could even glean about folks' handwriting by studying it, give us just a quick nutshell of what you can learn.
Well, when you look at the major factors, Wendy, including space and the form and the movement, you learn a person's preferences, their personality traits, especially their hot buttons, where perhaps you have some weaknesses, and other factors to pick up on. But what I care about in this situation is leadership. Where do you see the integrity? Where do you see the vision, the energy, and so forth?
Let's talk about Mitt Romney now. You talk about his final Y strokes, and you talk about things like there's a degree and loss of legibility as he writes. What does this say about him and his leadership skills?
What you want to do with a Mitt Romney, if you want to be on the same wavelength, you want to appeal to his mind, not his emotions. He's analytical. Between the experience and his intuition, because he stops a lot in his writing, that's how he thinks, that's how he proceeds, and there's a lot of integrity between how he writes and how he signs his name. That means what you see is what you get.
And you say most of his letters are retraced. You say there's a lack of loops, simple up and down strokes, which indicates a great self-control and a person who takes umbrage with people who violate the rules. Why does that particular form of writing tell you that?
Well, because it takes a little more effort to control a retrace rather than a loop. A loop is a more natural. That's how we were taught in copybooks. That's how we learned to do it with loops, and the H's and the L's and the bottom, below the baseline type strokes.
All right.
But Romney goes straight for the jugular. He's aggressive that way.
Straight for the jugular. Let's quickly bring in Neil King on Romney. Romney, obviously the leader right now for the GOP presidential nomination. Those things that David was describing, that Mitt Romney is more comfortable being defined by what he does than who he is, this self-control, Neil, does that mesh with what you know of him as a candidate?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. I thought there were a number of things that were really funny and interesting about David's analysis. I mean, Mitt Romney suffers no inner turmoil. He is what he purports to be. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways dovetails with what people sort of see as this very straightforward person. On the other hand, there is the kind of dichotomy of the Mitt Romney and the many iterations of Mitt Romney, which is a funny thing. I mean, here David's saying that his handwriting showing him to be this firm, solid, kind of unwavering person. But of course, the one thing that a lot of people know about Mitt Romney is he's gone through various incarnations. I also thought it was really interesting his thing about the R and the size of his R and the signing of his name and the overarching influence of his family name on his past, present, and future. I mean, it's very abundantly clear that Mitt Romney's family, particularly going backward, is hugely important to him and the role that his father has played over his own life, the former governor of Michigan. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And, the whole idea, feels compelled to avoid chit chat and prefers to get right down to business. I mean, that's also very much of a Romney trait. He's not a big, gadfly kind of yuck it up sort of person in the way that Bill Clinton was, for instance, or even George W. Bush. He's much more straightforward, kind of businessman type.
Good points, Neil. Now we have to quickly get to the other candidates. They're not the front runners. They don't get as much time. Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich. Give us just a quick hits, David, on what we can learn about them and their potential leadership skills from their handwriting.
Well, Newt Gingrich in particular, Wendy, has upbeat, optimistic, resourceful, very intelligent, very quick thinker. Again, what you see is what you get. And he advances forward. So those are the energy type and well-organized situations you see in that candidate. Unfortunately, when it comes to Rick Santorum, we have just the signature. The signature actually shows a good deal of diplomacy, a lot of energy, a very quick thinker. When you see U's and W's, that get confused for N's and M's, you're into a very, very fast thinker, one who can respond very quickly on his feet.
Quick reaction from you, Neil?
When it comes to Newt Gingrich, I mean, the funny thing is that, he is very well known for a kind of grandiosity, a certain almost megalomania, and a real penchant for hyperbole. And it seems that his handwriting doesn't evince any of those things, because David didn't note any of those things. All the other stuff, does not procrastinate, low threshold of irritability. I guess those might qualify as Gingrich traits.
And very last, we have to wrap this very quickly, but we can't leave out President Obama. David, you said there's a dichotomy between the courteous legibility of his text and the illegibility of his persona because of his signature. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is this dichotomy means that see what I do, don't look too closely at me personally. You may not see what you're really going to get. It's very difficult. You'd have to probe an awful lot more to see who Obama really is. A lot of good traits in terms of control, organization, intelligence, but you still have to worry. Are you really getting what you see?